This is the Nerdy Romantics Podcast, and I'm your host, Y.M. Nelson. Today's episode of the Nerdy Romantics Podcast talks about season 1 of The One on Netflix. The One is a TV series from the book of the same name by John Marrs, and it features science elements, which are a little nerdy, and romance elements, as characters try to figure out if they've really found their love match with science. We will discuss the TV show here, but we're also reviewing it. So as Dana says...
Well, this is a review, so if you haven't seen it, I don't know why you're listening to us.
You've been warned. Spoiler alert. So let's get into the discussion. So we are here with our fellow Nerdy Romantics, Marcie, Staci, and Dana. And today we are talking about season 1 of The One on Netflix. The One is from a novel by John Marrs, but we are all here because we saw the show first. Has anybody read the novel out of this group?
No, not me.
I did not.
So it is planned reading for me, but I haven't read it either. So we're all specifically talking about the show today. Before we get into that, as we know, this is partly a book chat as well. So let's just reintroduce ourselves and talk about what we are reading right now that we like. So let's start off with Staci.
Hello. Well, currently, I've just finished reading one book, Damaged Goods by Talia Hibbert, which I really enjoyed. You know, introduction to her, really from you, Yvonne. And I've really been enjoying her books. And they're really lighthearted and good romance novels for people who actually, want to see romance. So that's currently what I'm reading at this point.
Okay. Marcie, how about you?
I am currently reading a little Kindle Unlimited urban fiction. And so I am reading the You Could Do Damage series by Casey Mills, who I follow. And this is You Could Do Damage 2 TOO. And it's a continuation of the series. And so I actually do really like the series and her writing. It is urban. This one has a little bit of I don't want to call it mafia kind of tinge to it, but a little bit of that kind of vibe to it. And I like it.
Is that in the romance genre, urban fiction, or is it just straight urban fiction?
It's probably considered urban romance.
Okay. Dana, how about you?
So last year I purchased a whole bunch of discount Amazon credits for Audible. And so I bought the whole Pendergast series by Lincoln and Child. So I am still currently reading that. I think it's almost 20 books. And I'm on the last one that I purchased, which is Crooked River. But I think since then there may be one more that's out. So that's more like a thriller, kind of a sci-fi. Well, not sci-fi, I would say thriller. And in terms of kind of romance, still, I also during that time bought all the Molly Harper stuff I could. So those are the werewolf, the shape shifting, her whole Hollow series. And so I've just been Half Moon Hollow series. And so I've been reading those. I actually haven't been reading as much as I would like to, but I'm going on vacation and plan on tearing it up.
All right, cool. So let's get into The One. There's an element here of nerdy, and then there's an element of romantic as well, obviously, because of the subject matter. So let's talk about the nerdy. In episode 1, they talk about the science of matching, and they kind of go through with the two main characters, Rebecca and James, who are scientists. They go through and they do the science of it. First off, they talk about people being matched based on their hormone levels. Then they start studying ants, and based on their DNA mutations in ants, they feel like they could make this work with humans by matching humans based on their DNA mutations. What do we think about the science of this? Feel free. Dana, I see you are ready to talk.
Yeah. So, well, okay, about the hormone thing, I'll start with that one. So that one I think is interesting because if somebody has PCOS and is known to have, I guess, more testosterone or, less estrogen and all this stuff in him, I don't know how that would work. Like because your hormones go up and down throughout your lifetime. So what happens if I match today and 5 years down the road, we're no longer a match or either? I don't know about that. Obviously, I don't know anything about the science behind that, but that didn't seem to make much sense to me. And then with the whole DNA thing, and it's funny, and I know we'll probably get to this, but my first thought when they said that with the DNA is, what about people who have very similar DNA, such as brothers and sisters, twins, people like that? The DNA being 100% match, I wasn't going for that. I wasn't believing that. So I was just like, I wonder, like, what's going to happen with that? Because I could very well see you would have more than one match. That's what I was thinking. I can't imagine you would just have one match in the world. God forbid if you did and they were dead. But anyway.
Right.
So I was like, y'all know when we first started watching this, I was like, the science doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
So yeah, I questioned that from the beginning.
Marcie, what about you?
I feel like I am not a scientist by nature, so I just kind of rolled with it. Theoretically, I guess I thought of it less like hormonal and more like pheromonal is kind of how I processed it in my mind. And so that kind of seemed like something I was familiar with. So I probably just like made it whatever it was that my mind needed to understand the premise. And so I don't know that I got the science of it exactly anyway.
And they did mention the word pheromonal when they were talking about the ants.
They did. And so I think I just took that and was like, oh, I know what that part is. And so I probably extrapolated completely inaccurately what that actually meant. But I think for me, I'm a twin. So I immediately started to think, what about people who have common DNA, like twins, like siblings? Like, what would the overlap there be? And so I think that was one of the questions I did have at the beginning. And so it was interesting to see that play out, because that as a twin was the first thing I thought about was, what about people who have genetically identical DNA?
Yeah. Staci, any thoughts on this?
Initially, the reason I started watching the whole series was because of our conversations that we have. And after I saw this was after we had the discussion with Dana and Marcie one evening about soulmates or finding your match or something like that. We had this, and I remember Dana said, I believe that everyone should have someone in the world, or, something like that. And I was like, I said, no, I don't believe that. So, and then I saw this come up on Netflix, which makes me indicate, okay, number one, our phones are listening. But
yes.
But seeing this made me think of that whole, and that's the whole reason why I wanted to actually start seeing it, was because of that conversation alone. Because normally I'm not sure if I would have watched the whole thing through. The science on it, I really didn't focus too much on the science. Again, I was thinking the same thing with Marcia's, like siblings, what that would do, or just the whole, in the world, there's going to be a genetic match for you. Because I still wasn't believe, no, there isn't. You're not going to find. It's not necessarily there's someone always going to be there out there, but the fact that you were doing genetics and you're looking throughout the whole world and finding someone like that did intrigue. I've got to be honest, when I started watching it, and I told y'all about it, and then y'all started watching it, finished it before me, because I started to lose a little my steam for watching this. But initially with the science, I wasn't trying to be too into it, because I wasn't watching it for the science of, the one. I was like, okay, that's your concept. This is the whole concept of the whole series, is they discovered a way to find your one. and let's go from there. So I didn't really try to delve too deep into how they figure out what is the one. Not really interested. I do want to see how they develop, because that's the character development to me of the scientist characters. But the actual science, I wasn't as involved with it at that point on how they did it.
Kind of piggyback on that. That's kind of made me intrigued to like read the book to see if he actually goes into more of the science part of it. Because as you get on in the series, you notice it's really put the science part in so they can kind of weave that mysterious death into everything. And of course, because it's, the company is science-based. I mean, the whole idea is science-based. But you notice it's very loosely mentioned here. So that's kind of made me want to read the book to see if they actually goes into it. But also something you said made me think, I forgot to ask everybody, how they came upon the series, but I'm just going to kind of chime in and say we all came upon the series because Staci started watching it. And then we all were like, okay, let's watch it. In general, what did we think of this series in general, that what made us want to keep watching? Because Staci kind of waned there. So what made us want to keep watching?
The main thing to me is watching how the things that I thought, why I didn't think this would be a good idea to have this DNA match, watch it, I guess, play out. So for example, I think the one character we had where, and actually this is probably more so, I think maybe Staci asked the question, but what would you do if you were already in a relationship, you were already married, whatever, and this was a service that was offered to you? Would you want to know who your perfect match is? And so that's kind of where I came from. I wanted to see how that was going to play out for people who already thought they had their perfect match. Now there's something that comes out, science, and saying, hey, we can actually tell you who your perfect match is. Now this becomes, to me, kind of a moral question. Do I want to know who that is? And then what do I do about it? Or would I not want to know who it is? And so here we have a couple where the man, he didn't go and try to look to see who his match was. He loved his wife. He was very happy with her. She didn't go try to find out who her match was. No, she went to try to see who his match was, which to me was just like, why would you set yourself up for this? You knew it wasn't going to be you. The likelihood that it was going to be you is just like, to me, 0%. Like, I feel like anybody who went and tried this, they're not likely to match up to their DNA partner with the person that they already have. So the wife going and doing this, I thought was ridiculous. So I had to definitely see how that played out. Then the woman the man would have matched with happens to also live in the same town. And so the wife goes. Anyway, I just wanted to see how things like that actually were played out in here. And again, the whole thing about what happens when somebody has more than one match. So that's what kept me focused and wanting to watch. Plus with Netflix, I don't have to wait. So if this was spread out over, a week each episode, I probably would have fell off too. But knowing I can sit here and watch the whole series in 2 days, that's what I did.
I think, okay, so I'll agree with Dana that the fact that they were all there made it easier to keep going. And because I didn't have to wait, every time I was left with an unanswered question, I could immediately go to the next one and watch it. And I think for me, what really kept me watching was, what are these people going to do? If you're already in a relationship, what are you going to do? If you're not in a relationship, are you going to get matched? And then once I saw what the wife was doing, I was like, oh, I have got to see this. And then the side relationship with the girl who was matched to the unlikely match, when they and I say unlikely, but I think you find out that it's not as unlikely as it could have been. But when she's matched to Sophia and that whole mystery, and I was like, what is going on over here? So I really feel like they had all of these different mysteries playing out at the same time. And it really, I think that kept me engaged. I think that nothing is what you think it is when you see it the first time. I think that's really what kept me engaged, was that I think it was really well written as a show. And I think that was part of it. Also, that the key character, Rebecca, she would almost make you feel for her and then do something completely diabolical, and then almost make you feel for her. And so her character alone also had me trying to figure out, do I hate her, or do I feel bad for her? So that was another part of it for me too.
Yeah, her character was seriously complex. Yeah. Staci?
For me, that kept me going was that side character, or that side relationship with the husband and wife. That kept me going more than anything else, I think, in the whole series, was that relationship, and just her continued stupidity and the bad judgments that she was making left and right.
Yes.
On that, it was just, your husband says he loves. At first, when you see it, it's like, oh, he's gonna, you don't know anything about the characters at first, and you're thinking, oh, he's gonna do something behind her back. It's like, no, he did nothing behind her back. She caused her own problem. She caused it, and then she kept stepping into it. It was just, I just was like, you're just making it worse. You're making it worse. He's not giving you he's not doing the DNA. He didn't do it. You do it. Then you find the person, and then you try to make friends with them. It was just bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Near the end of it, I was thinking, he leaves you, you deserve it. I just really was like, up to a point, it's like you basically just let the person into your home, basically, that you knew would have which, because you've been watching, I said, you knew was going to have a connection with your husband, and you're going to let her in. And the fact that she said, because I wanted to know what she's doing, I could do something. It's like, no, even with the little science that, I wasn't even paying that much attention, the science had nothing to do with how people were acting. So having her,
right.
So it was totally the way the person's personality was. So what are you going to get from her unless you, I don't know, take her skin? How are you going to make yourself smell, give out pheromones and do all the stuff that they said is how they matched? So that just, I found stupid. And then as we were going on, and that detective and her find her match, which was also what I was talking about. So your match was like your same sex. And they, in this case, it was another woman, but she had never been with another one, And so that was,
she had. I thought she had dated a woman before.
Yeah, she had dated women.
But I thought I don't think she was really, she was open to it, but she wasn't really, I guess she was open to it. But, and then, with meeting her brother, and I was like, okay. And because that's one of the things I was thinking of is what happened if they're siblings, or in the case of identical twins versus fraternal, because they are identical, same egg split in two. They actually talked about not so much of the twin thing, but being that they were siblings, how she got a connection with the brother as well. I was interested more than that, than the main character. What's her name? Sophia. And I think we were talking about, you feel for her and then you don't.
Oh, Rebecca is the main character.
Rebecca, the main character. And I'm gonna have to tell you, after such, I never felt for her. I was like, I hope you get caught, dirty. I just did not like her, and so that's probably why, after a while, when it became less focused on those other character subplots and more on her, I started to lose steam in watching it because of that. And I know you can binge watch it, but after I got into something else, like, okay, I guess I gotta watch it, because I did talk to them about it, so I need to watch this show. Her whole, I know I would watch it, but I had no empathy or feeling for her, so I didn't really care as much what was happening to her. Just that I kind of wanted her to get caught. That was pretty much it. But not even enough to keep watching. If it wasn't for y'all, I probably would have stopped watching this and left it at the wayside.
So interesting that, we have two different reactions about Rebecca. Dana, what do you think about Rebecca, since we're on this?
And remind me, so I got confused with Staci was talking. So Rebecca is the detective, or is she the wife?
Rebecca's the dark-haired. The detective is the blonde.
She's the scientist. She's a
scientist.
Oh, forgot. You know what? That's so funny. I forgot all about her. Okay, so yes, obviously, on one hand, she's a successful businesswoman, and I'm like, we get an opportunity. She's a woman. She's acting like a man, right? So in this regard, I'm like, I like that we're showing this ruthlessness, because this is what men do all the time. Nobody says anything about it. When a woman does it, it's like, oh my goodness, why are they doing that? Da, da, da. So
yeah, she even says that in one episode. She's like, men do this all the time. Men don't apologize for wanting success. Right. Yeah.
So I honestly didn't really have a problem with her. Like,
that's funny.
And I say that not to say that I thought she was a great person, but I'm sorry, Pop Tart is barking if you hear her in the background. But not to say that she's a bad person. Not to say she's not a bad person.
So Pop Tart is a cute little dog, just in case I keep that in here.
I think for me, it's when I say I felt for her, I agree with Dana that I liked seeing a female character in charge who was unapologetic about that. But I also think that there was a layer there where part of the reason she created this whole thing was because I think she was looking for it herself. And I think that, to me, when I say kind of, do you feel for her? It was looking in the filter of these complex relationships she had with these men in her life, and recognizing that they all had a piece of something she was looking for, but none of them were the whole. And I think that's why she started down this path, was because I think she was looking for someone who represented the whole. And I think that was underlined. Now, don't get me wrong, power and money do some things to even the most altruistic, but I think that was a part of me that I saw at the very beginning, was this longing that you could see that she had for something. And I think that also is the question that the whole show is trying to answer, is if there was this person who offered the whole, would you be looking for that person, and would you want to try to find that person? And so I think that's what I mean when I say felt for her.
But so I didn't feel for her at all, like, because I think what she was trying to get is what you work for. That's what life is. I don't think you get to just find it on the street corner. I don't think the one is something you find versus something that you find part of and then create the rest of it. So, like, I didn't feel for her. I just saw of her as a ruthless, businesswoman. And then with the detective character, honestly, I really didn't care anything about her relationship. I did want to know what that girl was hiding. And when I found out what it was, I was like, oh, really? This is what y'all had me waiting for, this big secret in her background? Didn't care. Then the wife and the husband, I did care just because it was the dumbest thing I'd seen.
Right. It was the wife and the husband. It was her tomfoolery that I was there for all the time. So because it just kept getting worse.
Right. So that part was probably the number one thing that kept me and that I was really there for. But just like in terms of Rebecca, I guess I didn't really, I don't know. She was doing her job.
I mean, I'm with you, Dana. Like, I'm here for season 2 just because I want to see if the tomfoolery continues. Like, yes, now I feel like the match is mad, and now I feel like we about to up the ante a little bit. So I really do. I'm in it for the tomfoolery. I am.
Because it's Jurassic Park, the love version. When you take science and try to mix it up with something and go against maybe what should be natural, there are going to be things that happen because of it. And so I want to know what those things are, even outside things maybe I've thought of. And I want to see how y'all handle them. So I feel like, to me, that's what makes this interesting. I mean, they addressed two of the main things that I thought about immediately when they said this was something, because immediately I felt like, not a good idea. We're not going to be birthing babies from dinosaur eggs, whatever. And so that's kind of what the show to me was really about. You want this so bad that you'll do anything for it. Okay, now you have to live with the consequences. How do you do that?
I think too, the ante, we've upped the ante too with these couples, like bringing them in and then throwing them in these complicated situations. It ups the ante. At first with the detective and Sophia, because when they did have their first conversation, or the first conversation that we saw, it didn't seem like it was their first conversation. Sophia asked, how do your parents feel about you being matched with a woman? And she was, and Kate, the detective, was like, they don't know yet. They know that I date women. But then Sophia Kate asks Sophia, Sophia says, my parents are dead. And then we find out these complications that happen, and her dad is not actually dead. So, and he actually asked about that. He's like, Sophia has a wife. Is she gay? So he didn't even know that. So you're thinking like, it's this big something else going on. But then then when we heard that the main crisis of what happened there in the whole Sophia and the parents and all that kind of thing, that was a little bit of a letdown. But I think what ratcheted up the ante, or what made me want to stay interested in Kate, the detective, is that now she's actually pitted against Rebecca, in that end scene, Rebecca's like, well, not end scene, but it's more after the funeral services. Rebecca and Kate are matched up together, like, going head to head. So I want to see how all that comes out. Since we only have a few minutes left, I want to talk about, everybody seems to be, maybe not Staci, in it for the next season. So what do we rate this? Are we 1 through 5 stars? 1, we hated it. 5, we absolutely loved it. Let's start with Dana.
Okay, sorry, I clicked the button.
You did.
I would give it a 3.5. I felt like I definitely want a second season. I definitely need a second season, and there's plenty of material there for it. And I'm interested. Again, I want to see more crazy stuff about what could happen and why this potentially is not a good idea. So I'm interested in it. So yes, I'll give it a 3.5.
Marcie or Staci?
I would give it a 4.5 because I thought it was well written and engaging. I am in it to see what happens in the next season. And I do think it kept my interest for something that I was watching as a binge. It was an excellent binge, I'll say that. And so I give it 4.5 stars.
All right, Staci, what do you think?
Possibly 2.5 stars.
Okay.
Really, if I watch the second season, it will be solely because y'all are watching it. And so I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. And we'll see the focus. I mean, there's certain parts I do want to see, like the match that was the husband and wife, the one that match when she got the wife's hair. And I was like, ooh, I do want to see that.
Yes.
And I want to see what
exactly.
comes of that. Other than that, the other plot points, I really didn't care about.
Okay.
So it would be seriously, I would see what's going on there. And hopefully they bring something else to it. But if I continue watching, it will be solely because y'all are watching it. And it's like, okay, let me at least watch this.
So I do want to mention one thing before I go, and I just want to get a quick reaction here from you. At the end, Rebecca is making this speech, and she says, love knows no borders, nationality, or race. And I thought at that moment, because that's near the end, it obviously does recognize weight limits, because there are no plus size people on this show. And all my listeners know how I feel about pro body positivity. And there are actually 2 mentions of aversions to fatness on this show. So that's my one absolute negative. Anybody concur, or do we remember or anything about that?
Well, I mean, I think that's the nature of it being a TV show and not real life, right? So
Yes.
like, obviously there's aversion to anybody who's not pretty and skinny, because that's all that we saw in here. Same thing with the men. We didn't see any chubby men, so I think that's just the nature of the TV show. I think if this were to be real life, I think that DNA thing would actually move away from whether the person was fat, skinny, tall, or short, because your DNA would tell you this is the person you would be attracted to. So even though, I always joke about my husband, like, if you would ask me if I would have been attracted to him because he's shorter than me, the answer would have been no. I love me a tall man. But 15 years later, I'm glad that I am attracted to him and I love him dearly. And I feel like he is my one. I feel like we are a great match. So I feel like in the real world that would go away. But I think, again, because this is TV and this is kind of what we're used to, I think in this case, the non-plus size people being left out is a TV issue, not necessarily one that I think would have happened if this was truly a thing in the world.
Okay. Staci?
Well, I mean, I don't even remember, as again, I was not paying as much attention to this show. So can you remind me of the 2 times they did mention that? Or
Megan, the one that was matched with the husband, said that she did not like fat guys. And Hannah mentions when she's trying to match Megan up with somebody, she said, hey, this guy's married, but his wife has put on a few pounds and they haven't had sex in 9 months, kind of thing. So it's a little bit of a version there.
Well, overall, I have to agree with Marcie and Dana. I mean, with Dana, what she said about, with TV shows, it's rare that we see that. So, I mean, I don't think it's really the show that's going to it would be nice to see that maybe in the next season, that you actually see different body types. Because I mean, if you just talk about just body types in general, they also didn't talk about anyone who was who was handicapable or anything like that. So I mean, we don't even,
right. But they did show
anything,
one woman who was, but she wasn't matched. Yeah. They actually
and
showed
I mean, or how people will react to that. Just react to having someone who said they wouldn't be attracted to. But overall, I mean, I gave it a 2.5, so I wasn't expecting much out of it.
Oh boy.
And I wasn't, I guess because I was so interested in the match concept itself, I didn't look at that part of it. And because I honestly felt like most of the people were ordinary looking at best. Like I don't think that this was one of those casts where anybody was super gorgeous. I mean, I think maybe Kate might have been like super attractive, maybe Ben, but most of the season he was dead, but I think in general, most of the people were so average looking that I just didn't think about it because
nobody
in my mind thought average. I didn't, this wasn't one of those where everybody was supermodel-esque. So I felt like it was at least real people-ish. And again, because one of the main couples was people of color, I was excited about that. So I didn't look through it through a million lenses. I'm usually happy to see representation in some way. So I probably don't look for multiple versions. I guess because I got people of color, I didn't look for all the other versions of representation, because generally speaking, what we usually get is one.
Right. Yeah, we get one good. We get one.
You get one. Either you get, I mean, let's be honest, if there was somebody who was plus size, nobody would have been brown. Like I feel like, what I'm saying?
Right,
like something,
exactly.
it would have been a trade-off. So because the couple was with the storyline that was most engaging was also the couple of color.
Yeah.
I think that's really what my focus was. So I don't know that I saw the rest of it.
Well, I want to say thank you, ladies, for joining me today. I'm glad that you're here talking The One on Netflix and all of our lovely antics. So thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So that's it for this episode. Please subscribe to Nerdy Romantics Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, to be notified anytime a new episode drops. And if you like what you're hearing, please rate and review. The links are in my show notes at ymnelson.com, along with a lot of other links for books and other items that we talked about on our show. And if you really like what you're hearing, click the Buy Me a Coffee button while you're there to support us. Thank you for listening.